Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. So, lots of people, I think over 50% of people go through divorce. And I came across a fascinating Instagram site, website, app, whatever you want to call it, about divorcing over 40 and how you could deal with it and what the challenges were and what the problems were and how to figure out about dating again and all that kind of stuff. And as some of you may know, I've gone through that situation. And so I was kind of interested in what it was all about. And I wanted to reach out to one of the co-founders, Amy Greene, who's coming to us from Tulsa, Oklahoma. And number one, I'd love to hear about how Tulsa, Oklahoma is doing. But number two, I wanted to find out from Amy what motivated her, what the website and the app is all about, and the Instagram site is all about, and why she did it and what it does to help people. So Amy, welcome to our show. How are you?
I am very well. Thank you for having me, Brian.
My pleasure. So, I think Canadians and Americans in dating after divorce are probably the same. So there may be some things like I've seen a bunch of people on Facebook and stuff like that say, don't ask me out if you're a Trump supporter, or only ask me out if you're a Trump supporter. So other than the political thing, I think we're probably pretty similar. So tell me, why did you launch this website? Is it a website or an Instagram site or an app or a what?
It is not yet an app, but it is definitely on Instagram, and we have a website. And, Brian, it organically, when I was divorced, we were in the middle of COVID when things were really kind of coming apart, and I was living by myself with my 3 kids, and I was still looking for fun things to do. Oklahoma is we're a little bit like, nobody can really tell me what to do, especially in Tulsa. We weren't quite as tightened down with masks, and I just fun things to do. So that led to me meeting other people at cookouts and things in people's homes. And we formed a friendship group, and we started noticing that my 2 partners and I, that other people were longing for connections and friendships after being divorced. A lot of
So not just dates,
dating,
but friendships and connections.
Correct. We have the belief that, because I remember probably 2 days after I kind of got through the shell shock of being told I'm leaving and nice knowing you, I thought, well, okay, I get to start dating. There's that. I bet I'm going to have them lined up at the door, or at least it's going to be easy. I really thought it was going to be so much different than it was. And whether those things were true or not, which it wasn't, but that I wasn't even remotely ready. I was still healing from a trauma. And in some ways, 2 years later, I still am, but I needed time to heal. And a lot of people do after divorce, maybe not everybody, that's for your personal decision. But I do think that when you're looking for starting chapter 2 over, you want people that you can connect with, friends, fun things to do, things to look forward to, activities, and just even if it's just going for a hike or yoga or church or going to play games or axe throwing or cocktails or dinner. I mean, I could list
axe throwing. Hope you're not throwing it at him.
Right. No, I don't have that opportunity. He lives too far. But we notice that people are longing for connection, human connection. So we decided to just, again, organically, we thought we would tell funny dating stories, which evolved on Instagram. We thought we would start a blog. And so in order to tell funny dating stories, we needed to describe how we got there by being divorced. And we noticed that each of our stories resonated with people when we each express, and at that we're a group of 6, but you express your innermost pain and why this happened, no matter which side of the divorce you're on, that really connects with other people, and people can feel that emotions and that vulnerability, and you're opening yourself up to the just support and love. And we notice that there is a real need healing for people in that situation. Simultaneously, back to the cookouts, we would be having these and posting a lot of pictures, and people would say, I want to come to your events. or at that point, we didn't call them events. We just called them cookouts. And I want to come to Tulsa. It looks so fun, because we would just post pictures after pictures, and FOMO is a real thing. And so we started with putting events in Tulsa, and people would send us messages from Dallas, Chicago, Kansas, Canada, even both coasts and anywhere in between. And we encouraged them to start Divorced Over 40 groups in their area.
Right.
So when you go to Divorced Over 40 Facebook or Instagram, you're seeing all of the people in our group, our followers, and we try and educate and help them. Some of it's humorous, some of it's whether it's therapy through a divorce coach or maybe a financial
Divorce
person.
coach. What's a divorce coach?
You know, a divorce coach is somebody, I think, that helps you. There's quite a few things. I guess it could be each little piece of trying to figure out, maybe it's co-parenting or the law side of it. There's just quite a few things that I guess come under the umbrella of divorce that we're all trying to figure out, that have to do with emotions. And
so in the last, so you started this, what, 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, just after COVID?
1 year, August 14th will be our first year birthday.
Oh, really? Just a year? And you've grown from Tulsa worldwide?
Correct. We have 55 cities of groups, communities, tribes, whatever you want to call them. We usually call it Find Your Tribe. So we tend to call them tribes, but there's 55 different tribes. And every day we seem to get messages about adding them. And I believe we have 6 international.
And is Toronto one of them?
I think they were for a while. And then you guys were so locked in that the ladies are on pause.
Oh no! What a
I
shame.
I know.
And I'm gonna have to ask you if he really came in and said it's over, I'm leaving, and it's over. Like, is that exactly what he said?
Yes. In fact, he walked in and sat in a chair that no one sits in, and I thought he was going to tell me that we had gone bankrupt. And so when he said no, I have already filed, and we're telling the kids tonight. And this is done. Oh, shoot, I'm supposed to be somewhere. Well, we got to wrap this up. I mean, he so quickly and had whatever appointment he had to go to. And
this was a complete surprise to you?
Complete surprise. In hindsight, some things were funny, but not in the moment. I didn't see it coming at all.
Unbelievable. Well, that would lead to some trauma that you need to get over, I can imagine. No question. We're going to take a break for some messages and come back more with Amy Greene, founder of Divorced Over 40, in just a minute. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. We're chatting tonight about how to deal with divorce, and a website or an Instagram and Facebook site that I came across called Divorced After 40. One of the co-founders, Amy Greene, has joined us tonight from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and she's telling us a little bit about her own divorce, but also about the site and what it does. And so, Amy, maybe you could just tell us a little bit about why you were posting what you post and what you're trying to say with it all.
Well, we have noticed that there's kind of 2 groups of people when you get divorced. And there are the people that I call in the trenches, people that are in the thick of getting divorced. Maybe you just found out, or maybe you just decided to deliver the news, or you might be on the maybe 5 or 6 years down the line, and you can kind of start to feel the light at the end of the tunnel. Those are kind of our 2 groups of people. And we really have found that both groups need our help immensely. And I don't mean help like I'm an expert. I'm not an expert in divorce. I just have lived through it personally. I just know what it's like to be left behind, abandoned, and left reeling with 3 teenagers who also had no idea what was going on. My 2 partners, Daniel, he was the one that decided to initiate the divorce. So he gives his perspective, a man's perspective, someone that does excellent job co-parenting. Julie has grown children and is still working through her divorce. It's been many years ongoing, and the three of us collaboratively bring three different feelings to the page. So we feel like we have put forth experts that do know what they're talking about. Again, we just relate to other humans who are going through this same difficult experience. But we put forth the experts, a sex expert, a financial attorney, and then Danelle, you've flashed past her. She is a therapist in general. And then some of the pictures.
And you sort of mix it up with inspirational quotes and little videos from some of you that I guess are the co-founders, as well as you introduce a lot of the people, but you're not a dating site. So
correct.
You introduce some of the people that are involved.
Yes, the introductions that you speak of are called Friday features. And in fact, Brian, you could write one. That's one of my jobs is I ask people to write not necessarily the nitty gritty of their divorce, but it's the overall essence of maybe how you got divorced, but more importantly, what you've discovered on the other side. You know, whether you put the show together to help people healing, or maybe you already were a radio host, but it's something that you've learned from being divorced, and that's what we want to feature. But it's just everyday people, and those are every Friday.
Right. And do people like that? Do they make dates out of it, or is it just like what do you do that for?
Those are just to connect. We are not about dating. Whenever we have our events, we strongly encourage that people don't message each other or try and seek people out specifically for dating. Now, the events that I spoke of that we host, we used to call them happy hours. And sometimes whether you go hiking with a group or whatever the group may be, if you form an organic connection at one of those events, then that's awesome. That's amazing. And we're all
for that. You do that in Tulsa or in all of your different tribes?
We do. And we absolutely, the events are a big piece of each community or tribe. And then, yes, we definitely do them in Tulsa. It's once a month. And then there's we encourage people through Facebook actually to start setting up your own friend groups, whether it's maybe a barbecue or people just going out to brunch on a Sunday. But we want little groups, for lack of a better word, a clique, but little groups of people, little pods to form friends organically and do things. And then we, as the founders, there's me, then we set one big event that has a couple hundred people as a mixer, a mix and mingle, we'll call it, the second Thursday of every.
So scrolling through your Instagram site, I guess I found, there's probably lots of categories, but let's talk about three. One is a lot about getting over it and getting on with your life. And that, it's the old line about what doesn't kill you makes you stronger kind of attitude, or resilient people. The second, there was a lot of comments about toxic relationships and that there was this, lots of people were attracted to people that ended up creating toxic or narcissistic or whatever relationships or people. And then the third is fear of or excitement about, I guess, sex with new people, relationships with new people. Talk about those three if you could a little bit.
Okay, I am going to, I guess, go in I forget what'd you say? The first one was whatever doesn't kill you, make you stronger. Well, That's, I think, the overall essence of being a human and fighting for survival on this planet. And I personally, divorce isn't the worst thing that's ever happened to me. I was involved in a fatality car accident over 14 years ago. That was the worst thing that's ever happened to me. That was a guttural pain that I had to persevere. And so I have, ever since then, and maybe before, but I've driven from a place of strength. And I believe that overcoming things only makes you stronger, is only going to shed growth and opportunity and healing and connection with and compassion with other people around you. So if you wallow in the misery and lay down at the bottom and just want to hide under the covers, what is that going to accomplish?
I needed to lose you to find me. Really? Is that what some people think about in regards to divorce?
Maybe, yes. Yes. I could see how many people would say that. I don't know if that's my own personal maybe mission, but I could definitely relate to that. That part of me was identifying as maybe just his spouse or just their mom, when I have a lot of things that I could bring to the table. I have a lot of gifts. God blessed me with the gift of gab or talking. I can be long-winded and talk for days, or I enjoy organization or getting things done, things that I can bring to. So in a sense, maybe so. Maybe you did have to get left behind to find your new self. I could get behind that.
And then the second is a lot of comments about toxic people, narcissists, stuff like that. Is that a common problem in divorces?
I think it is. I would say that narcissists and what's the one that women get called? Was it a empath? Those are two, I would say, buzzwords in our society these days. Is everyone a narcissist or an empath? Probably not. There's probably quite a bit of space in between. But if you are attached in one way or another to a person that is pushing you down figuratively or trying to stifle you or in some way speaking to you that you don't find the way you want it to be, then you don't have to stay there. You have every right to pick up your stuff and get the heck out. My friend, one of my best friends after divorce, was one of the first lessons I learned was he said, you don't have to stay anywhere you don't want to be anymore. Anywhere that you are, you can get in your car and go home. And that was a really big deal. And I don't know if that necessarily lends itself to toxicity, but it's a similar situation, and that you can decide for yourself, I've had enough of that.
This is an interesting comment that there is such a trend these days to label your ex as a narcissist in the world of divorce professionals. It's a bit of an inside joke that everyone is divorcing a narcissist these days. It's not funny if you are, but honestly, this focus on your ex and their behavior, no matter how difficult it is, truly is only holding you back. That's interesting.
Yep. Well said.
Blame it all on the other person. You are holding yourself back.
Absolutely. That's Susan Guthrie that said that. She's a woman of many intelligent thoughts about divorce and just how to get over it and how to start putting one foot in front of the other and maybe changing your lens. You and I both know what it's like to experience it, but you learn something new every day, and it only makes you have a little bit more empathy for others around you.
And then what about the second one, about the fear of sex again with?
Oh, yes. Yes. Now that's a big one. And that's something that can sort of kind of be integrated with humor. People like to, I think sometimes maybe it's nervous laughter or, as the quote is, sex sells, but it's interesting. And I do think a lot of people worry about that. I mean, myself included, I was with my spouse since I was 19 years old. That's a long time to be with one partner.
One person.
Yes.
19 until when?
Excuse me?
19 until when?
2 years ago when I turned 42.
So almost 20 years.
Yes. Yeah. If you conclude the dating, yes. Yeah. I guess it was a long time, but I do think that.
So how are you dealing with that?
How am I dealing with it?
You said that you're still going through some trauma 2 years later.
Oh, yes. I think that I don't know that I will ever fully not pause when I think about some stories, or when some things will always pierce me emotionally, and some things I can laugh off. Some things I can, I'm not sorry that it happened, even though I've told you a really hard thing about my life. I wouldn't change 1 second. I wouldn't, I'm so glad I am divorced, and I think he's happier, and I know I'm happier. So my kids are the ones though that probably wouldn't say the same. And that's really hard to see. That's hard to experience, but I think that will live on forever, the repercussions of that. And I kind of deal with it day by day, situation by
But
situation.
you said you're not dating again yet.
Well, I don't have, I'm definitely open to dating. I don't know if I'm picky or if people just don't approach me, but I don't seem to do that
Okay,
much
so what about
dating.
this line? People keep telling me the right person will come along. I think mine got hit by a bus or something. Do you think the right person's going to come along?
I hope so. I really, really have faith in my heart that God has somebody out there for me that will think my quirky things are funny and that will like to listen to my long-winded, very elaborate stories. And I sure hope so. I sure hope so.
So you've had a couple of sex therapists on your show. Tell me what, not on your show, on your Instagram. What are they telling people that have this fear about getting back into the dating world and getting into sex with new people?
I would mostly we encourage people, of course, to do what feels comfortable to them. If you are ready to get out there and try things again, then absolutely she's got some healthy ideas for men and women. And a lot of it is about body image or what maybe naturally happens as you get older for both men and women. As we get older, certain things maybe just don't work as well. And she very encouraging for everyone to understand and divorced over 40 that it's happening to all of us. So just to be comfortable in your own skin and recognize that just because I'm a woman, it doesn't mean that, oh, all the men think one way or another, or that each individual person, you can find a connection and they're going to be fine with it. The guys are just as nervous as we are and vice versa. And it's nice to see that in the comments. I have enjoyed every time that she posts something. Some of it's a little bit more graphic than others. It might be about, I know one of the first couple ones were things that I don't know if I feel comfortable even saying the word on your radio show, but it was, things you might do in private on your own, and I'll let you use your imagination. But she was encouraging people to even explore that. And I mean, we've covered a large range of things, but it's adulthood. That's what's out there, and that's what we need to learn.
Okay, I got to ask you about this one. Sometimes God sends an ex back into your life to see if you're still stupid.
Yes, I'm certain that has happened to many people, to see if you will fall right back into it. And, who am I to know if maybe you reconnect? It could be an ex that is not a spouse. I've thought of it that way, that there is one particular, I'll call him a character in my life that I can actually think of two. How sad is that? That will send me a text about maybe once a week. Sometimes maybe it's once a month. And it's just to remind me that I don't think they actually care about me. They're just looking for whatever sort of thing they're looking for, attention or whatever. But oh yeah, it's we want to check on you and make sure you're not still falling for the same stuff.
So you're very active on social media, constantly posting inspirational quotes, ideas, comments from clinical psychologists and sex therapists and divorce coach and mediation coaches, and then introducing people to some of your members. How do you do all that? And do you make money out of this, or is this just something you do for fun?
It is very, very time consuming, and I love it. We all three love it, but we all three have other jobs, and we are hoping to make it into a business. It's slowly going that way. We've kind of transitioned in the last couple months to a few different things to make some money, but mostly it's a labor of love. We've found that especially if we have events, that's where some monetary support is necessary. And we've found a couple of sponsors that have helped us, because if we hire a photographer or if we want to provide food, or if just to have sometimes the event itself at a place, you have to have money to do it. And we found that a couple local sponsors, that one's a realtor and one's an insurance agent, and they've been supportive of us. But as far as Instagram and Facebook, I mean, those are even just time consuming, like you said, on your own, but it's not quite as much of a monetary support. But we're hoping to make this just keep going and growing and longevity.
We're chatting today with Amy Greene, who is a co-founder of Instagram site and a Facebook site called Divorced Over 40. They organize events in numerous different cities around the world. They call them tribes, and they have a very active social media presence with inspirational quotes, interviews with or comments from clinical psychologists, sex therapists, divorce lawyers, mediators, etc. And they, on a regular basis, introduce people to some of their members. And they don't call themselves a dating site. They're not a dating site, but they do a great job of sort of motivating people to get back on the saddle or back in the saddle and get back at it and not see life as being over when, some terrible trauma happens to them. We're going to take a break for some messages and come back more with Amy in just a minute. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. We're chatting tonight about divorce and getting divorced later on in life after 40, and a Facebook site and an Instagram site called Divorced Over 40. And Amy Greene has joined us from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Amy, we're in Toronto primarily. Tell us, where is Tulsa, Oklahoma?
Tulsa, Oklahoma is in the Midwest. A lot of people know Texas, and we're right above Texas.
Right above Texas.
We touch 7 states. I think we're one of the few states that do that, but we are definitely a little bit, we don't claim the South. Usually we kind of want to claim more the Midwest.
The Midwest. Okay. And, divorce statistics in Toronto and Canada are like, I think over 50% of divorces, over 50% of marriages end up in divorce. What is it like in either Oklahoma or the United States? Are you aware of those numbers?
I couldn't tell you exactly, but you are hitting the nail on the head as far as the ballpark. I think it's grown. I think COVID in the last year that a lot of just divorces in general are on the rise. So I definitely think it's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 55% for sure.
And then I understand that of second marriages, the divorce rate is like 70%. Why would it be higher with second marriages? You think you tried it once and you made some mistakes. You should know what not to do again.
Oh, that's so disheartening. So disheartening to even think about. And it gives me pause for sure. But I think I've heard the same numbers. And I think it has something to do with rushing into it. I think that people have a tendency to want to find the next connection as quickly as possible. And maybe not necessarily within the first year of getting divorced, but maybe they just haven't given it quite enough time to really, really find that second thing. And the second reason of maybe it hurrying is maybe they saw that there was a way out in their first marriage that was well, I'm just going to cash in my chips. And they realized the second time around, you know what? That was kind of a bite on the butt, but I'm just going to knock it off and do it again. Just cut this out and do it again. So sometimes, it's not quite as painful the second time.
So Amy, you said that after 20 years, your ex-husband came in and just said it's over. How could you not have a sense that it was coming?
I really, really didn't. That is the honest truth.
You had a good relationship. You had you were good in bed. You were good in the kitchen. You were good in the dining room.
Well, not yes to all of those things, but because of, again, hindsight, we worked together. Well, we owned a business that we both together, we parented great. We never fought, but I wouldn't say that we were a cohesive unit as far as communication. I would I was very good at letting him be the boss, just what you say. That's how we'll do it. If you want to go eat at the Mexican restaurant, I'll just eat at the sushi place tomorrow with my friends or by myself. We were, we would kind of live parallel lives in the same house, but it worked. We both seemed okay with it. Now, was that fulfilling? No, but I didn't really think of it that way.
Were you in love with him?
I was in love with the person that had taken care of me for so long and I had grown up with for so much, and I relied on him and loved him for the person that I knew that he was, but I wasn't in, and I still care about him immensely, but I wasn't in love with him as far as where love and lust start to are connected. That I've realized on this side of it. I didn't know that then.
So did he change? Did you change? Did you both change?
I don't want to blame him. I really, really don't, because I definitely contributed to the spot that we're in now. And if he were listening to this, I wouldn't want him to ever think that I blame him fully, because I know that I could have done some things different, and we probably could have stayed married forever and healed some of the things that were wrong of communication and talking and reconnecting. But when he found a nice lady, we'll call her, at a work event, and I guess she answered a lot of questions that he had, and they fell in love, and they're married already and moved far away to Hawaii. And so, yeah, that's just a whole thing. But yeah, that's.
But if you were completely surprised and he just walked in and said it's over, and he maybe had found someone else, isn't it all his fault? He didn't communicate to you. He didn't tell you it wasn't working. And he went out and without telling you, he found something else.
He had laid breadcrumbs of being unhappy, but now I realize, okay, he was frustrated with many things. But I do agree with you that he's the one that decided not to work on it anymore with me, that he was finished and I was just checked off the list, and the new gal was the person.
So if you had to live your life over, would you do something different?
It's hard to say. I think that I've thought about this a lot, and I actually wouldn't. There's a few things in my life that I would have saved more money so that I could have some more on this end. But that's I wouldn't do any. I mean, that's such a hard question to answer. I wish that we hadn't gotten married so young. I got married at 22, and he was 25. I wish we had waited longer. I mean, go live
How old
your
are
life.
you said you had a daughter there tonight?
Yes, she's my youngest, 15.
How old's your oldest?
He is 19 and wants to be a pastor and is at church camp helping other kids. And then I have a 17-year-old, very typical 17-year-old daughter that is driving and always asking me for gas money and money to go have Starbucks with her friends.
Let's say the 17-year-old came to you in a year or two, 19 years old, and said she had found her guy, 25 years old, and was going to get married and move off. What would you tell her? Given your experience, what would you tell her?
My son has found, he's 19 and he is dating a girl very seriously. And because he wants to be a pastor and she is also involved with the church, they believe, of course, of protecting their protecting themselves from sex and things like that. So I'm sure they're in a little bit of a hurry to get married, and it scares me to death. It scares me to death. I told both of them, and each of them separately, that you've got to go live your life. You aren't ready. There are things that you need to learn to be a man and make decisions and work in this world and go do fun things and have life experiences. And yes, you can do that beside her, but don't tie yourself down to marriage so quickly. And when I told him all of this, he looked at me and I said, why don't you at least wait 10 years? And he looked at me like I said, why don't you string t-shirts together and get to the moon? I mean, just like that was an impossible task. But I absolutely want them to wait.
Got a attitude of being a virgin at marriage. I can understand a little bit of his frustration and impatience. Frankly, I have to admit.
Yes, and he's such a good kid. He really, really will wait, I'm sure.
So you've had a bunch of experts that come on and make comments. Why do you do that?
Well, we aren't experts ourselves. We still sometimes joke that, what is it about us that makes us, whether it's at our events or people that, especially Daniel's a very handsome man. Why do people reach out or want to have our attention in any way? We're just three people that happen to be friends that happen to start all of this. We are just humans that are experiencing this, and we aren't experts. And so we don't want to explain something or share knowledge of some sort and not have it backed by,
So tell me some of the
pardon me, what we
things that
believe.
they've said that really resonated with you.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of things that Danelle says. She is the therapist, kind of the overall just therapy that I really like her content. She is always just very powerful in giving you lots of options, whether to kind of heal yourself first, to keep using that phrase, but she's a big believer in like my inner feelings of pull yourself up and get stronger, and then gives you ways to do that, whether it's journaling or exercising or talking with a friend. Just that she just always gives real life advice. And I need that. I need tangible things that I can go do. I'm a very literal person. I like it when someone spells it out for me.
Right.
And then I would say the financial advisor, he's not quite as often, but that was something that I had when I said that I let my husband be the leader. He was the complete and total financial person that was in charge of everything around here. And so I wasn't dumbfounded or blinded or bamboozled or anything like that, but I didn't know what it was like to get insurance by myself. I had not shopped for car, home insurance. I hadn't set up all of the utilities. I had to do all of those things myself. When he left, he really, really turned everything off, and I was on my own.
And any of the others?
I've gotten a little bit out of the legal. That's always helpful to know that it doesn't have to end at the divorce decree. You can examine things. The sex therapist is always helpful. It is learning to feel comfortable with yourself. And once you feel comfortable with yourself, everything else kind of starts to work again and flow, and you have that connectivity with people. So absolutely something from everybody. But I would say I've learned the most from from the Friday features and really talking to people
experiences.
themselves. Yeah.
Really. You've had a bunch of mediation people on, I've noticed, and they talk about the benefits of mediation versus litigation. What do you think about that? I
did mediation. That was how we resolved everything. And so I can't really personally compare the two, since I never once went before a judge. I never went to trial. In Oklahoma, you go to when you and you raise your hand and basically say you're there, but that was it. So I worked solely with my attorney, and then we met 3 times with my kid's father and then his attorney. And I guess it was better. I mean, we resolved it without having to pull up old documents, or I've been in a trial before for our car accident, and it's a daunting task to have to put together all of those things. It's financially a lot harder, and seems like it sucks a lot more money away. So if you can do mediation, that's my personal opinion, though.
I also saw some comments about pre-marriage agreements. What do you think of those?
Again, that is very personal to people. I can definitely see why you do it if you have assets to protect. If I make a lot of money with Divorced Over 40 someday, then I might get one. I might have to set one up myself. So I don't have a problem with it. I think there's a lot of communication that needs to be done between the two people. I would educate people to say, absolutely, don't sign something without looking it over yourself and having someone who represents you, who knows what those words mean. Absolutely. You owe that to yourself to be prudent, to always examine anything before you sign it. Don't just say, I trust him or her. Let me just give my autograph, as a family member once told me.
There was an interesting post about friendships and how when you get divorced, you lose a bunch of friends, and how you've got to make new friends, and that the real friends stick with you. Tell me about what happened in your marriage, or your breakup. Did the friends stay with you? Did you lose friends? How do you evaluate that whole process?
Oh, I think that's really hard for most. I would say almost all divorces have some sort of friend divide. For the unique situation that I am in, it was almost like Mr. Greene, we'll call him, he died. It's almost like he died because he left. And everyone, he did some very, very things, and he even changed his name legally. Because he did so many crazy things, all of his friends were now to me, of his family is bequeathed to me. So I've actually gained a lot of friends. Now that is
his name.
Yes. It would be like your name is Brian and you changed it to Mark. I mean, not even something remotely.
He really wanted to start afresh.
Yeah.
And your in-laws are still friendly with you.
Yes, we're going tomorrow. I'm taking my 2 daughters to go see his dad and his wife tomorrow for a couple of days. Yeah, his father was the second person I called whenever the news was handed to me. I called my best friend, and then I called his dad.
You've gone through some tough times, Amy.
I have, yeah.
We're going to take a break for some messages. We're chatting tonight with Amy Greene. She's a co-founder of Divorced After 40. We're going to come back for some including comments and see if Amy's got some recommendations for us. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. We're chatting tonight with Amy Greene from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and she is a co-founder of a Instagram site and a Facebook site called Divorced Over 40 that has got a bunch of really interesting things. They profile some of their members. They've got quotes and paragraphs of suggestions from experts, and every day they post, it would appear, an inspirational quote that I've enjoyed reading. Amy, I'm a little bit over 40, I have to admit. And I was married a little bit longer than you. I was actually married for over 30 years. So divorced. What do I do? What recommendations have you got for me?
Brian, I definitely, I'm sorry that happened, but it doesn't mean that in any way that this is the end of what you consider life or what you consider fun or whatever life holds for you. You're just getting started. And I really do believe that.
I agree. Just getting started. Look out, world.
I love that. I love that you have a twinkle in your eye. That's the first thing that I always look for in another person when I'm connecting is I really like, I'm an eye contact type of person. And I love when people have that twinkle. And I know that we get it, they get it. And that there's a light from within. And that's what I thrive on. And I would really tell you, and I would tell your listeners and the people out there that if you are starting over, and whether it's been 2 minutes or 2 years or even longer than that, maybe it's been 10 years plus, but put yourself in a position of, and I don't mean like me, but put yourself first. It's the old adage of you're no good to anybody else if you can't be strong, of giving yourself oxygen before you can give it to others. So in that same sentiment, heal yourself first. And in that way, it's about finding other people that you connect with or fun things to do, things to look forward to. Get some of those seeds of bitterment out by finding laughter again, or going to have coffee with people. Find a new hobby, do something that speaks to you. I realized for myself that I really enjoy being busy. I really enjoy, I have gifts of working with people, and I'm one of those introvert extroverts, but I really do thrive off of feeling other people's energy and being a part of things. And I picked up yoga in the last couple of years. I've been outside more. Things that I had kind of stifled for myself. I was watching a lot of Netflix before, and just kind of just existing and working at our office. And
It sounds like you invested way too much in your husband's life and career and not enough in your own. Is that fair?
Oh, I would absolutely agree with you. Absolutely. I truly thought, and we even had an agreement. Oh, this is so crazy. But we had an agreement that I would do everything, every single thing, from the grocery shopping to the making the beds to taking the kids to every single thing. And all he had to worry about was his job, so that he could make that rise and grow. And it's just, now it just seems so crazy. I would say, to, not that I wouldn't support anybody in their job, but it just, I completely took on too many things. We didn't do enough together. But anyway, I would definitely into myself. I had definitely put myself on the back burner for
So
sure.
have a twinkle in your eye, find some fun, get out and find yourself, get into activities, make connections with other people.
Yes.
What else?
Yes. Don't hurry. It feels
Don't
good
rush into
just
something
to
new.
be correct. It feels good to be pursued. It feels good to, I love a good text message, chat with somebody, or my eyes light up when I hear from somebody too, but only if you're ready.
So
Only
some
if
guys are flirting with you.
well, occasionally it happens. But I'm gonna plug Divorce Over 40 for 1 second. So if you, our events, for example, we have 33% of people that come to our events every single time are brand new, and they come by themselves. They are scared to death to get out there and try something new. And almost every single one of them come back again and again, because they see that we're all in the same boat together.
So Amy, if people want to join up with your organization or your Facebook or your Instagram, how do they do that?
Well, the easiest thing to do is to go to our Instagram page, and you can send us a direct message and say tribe, or you can go to our website, which is divorcedover40.com, and there is a link to help. We will help you find a tribe in your area, or you can start one yourself, and we will help you do all of those things. But find others in your community, even if it's a guy at the gym that he somehow mentions divorce, or a gal at church, but find other people that can connect with you. It really is something about knowing, you and I both know what it's like to be divorced. So we're going to carry on a completely different conversation than maybe with our married friends. And we will connect on that level, that not that they can't relate, but they just can't quite understand.
Amy Greene, co-founder of Divorced Over 40. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it. I would recommend anyone that's interested to connect up with their Instagram account of Divorced Over 40. I found it really quite helpful. And I guess if I could add something, Amy, it would be, the trite line, but it's, I think, very accurate. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I do think that, I never dreamt that I would be my age and divorced and dating again. But it's certainly not terrible. And I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying meeting new people. And my marriage lasted over 30 years. Your marriage lasted 20 years. When marriages on average last 7, that's not a bad statistic. We actually beat the odds. I guess I would have hoped it would have lasted forever. But things went wrong in my marriage, just like probably things went wrong in your marriage. And I think things go wrong in a lot of marriages. And maybe today, in today's society, it is easy to get out. But frankly, I think it's a lot better to get out of a bad situation that's making people unhappy and not creating a great home for the kids than staying in a bad situation. And so, if you can start anew and be happier and make the kids happier, and make yourself happier and make someone else or some other people happy, all the power to you. And so, I think that society or religion or families or whatnot sort of force people to stay in bad marriages too long. And I'm not saying, everyone should get divorced. Clearly, that's not the objective. But if it's right to get divorced, it's right to get divorced and move on and meet some more people and have fun in life.
I wholeheartedly agree with everything you just said. Absolutely. Life is too short.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks everyone for listening. I'm Brian Crombie, Brian Crombie Radio Hour on every night on Saga 960 AM. You can stream me online from anywhere in the world, including Tulsa, Oklahoma, at www.saga960am.ca, CA for Canada.com, for what you're used to, Amy. Or you can get all my video casts on my YouTube channel, on my website, briancrombie.com, and you get all my podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Audible, Spreakeasy, anywhere that podcasts are available. Thanks everyone for joining us, and have a great weekend. And if you're looking for some help, if you're divorced, check out Divorced Over 40. Amy, have a great weekend.
God bless. Thank you.